Well, this one's a long time coming. Wow. You know, I'm almost a little like verklempt having this wine back in the store. Very, very special wine from a very special producer. This is Verget from the great Jean-Marie Guggenheinen. Is that name French? Well, the Jean-Marie kind of is, but the Guggenheinen part, yeah. And pardon me, the confusion is he's Belgian. And the Belgians are like half French, half Dutch, but the Belgians would say they're 100% Belgian. But yeah, Jean-Marie Guggenheinen, that's two, yeah. Anywho, Jean-Marie, big Chardonnay fan, came to Burgundy in late 80s, early 90s. In 1990, he couldn't afford his own vineyards, because dude wasn't like raking in the bucks. But what he could do is start what they call a negociant business. So a lot of the top Burgundy houses, right? Bouchard, Faiveley, Joseph Drouin, Louis Jadot, et cetera, they all kind of half got their start as negociant houses, i.e. they did own vineyards, but they also bought fruit and or grapes and then produced extra wine on top of the fruit from the vineyards that they own. So he thought, well, why couldn't I do that? But here's the thing. This is what made him so cool. At the time, he was probably one of the first what we would call micro-negociants, right? Prior to that, negociant meant like money. It meant like gathering lots of grapes and buying lots of stuff and making huge piles of Burgundy wine. And he took a different tack because he was like, well, you know, I don't have any money, but what I could do is promise some kick-ass growers that I'd make like balls out wine from their vineyards and then make them famous and they could sell their grapes maybe later on to somebody else for more money or whatever the hell. And a few top growers picked up on that and hooked up with him. And what they didn't exactly know at the time was just how talented Jean-Marie Guggenheinen could be, or was for that fact. We sold the 92 vintage of Verget's wines in Southern California. That was the first vintage we worked with Verget's wines. And even then, like the hype was already starting. He was a micro boutique, super cool negociant. He was working with a super micro boutique, you know, sales book in Southern California, very shishi, you know, like, let me see your papers, you know, if you wanted to buy wine from them. And we like managed to finagle some, and we felt so good scoring $12 Saint Veran from a negociant. Never felt that good before. And that's because the wines were brilliant, immediately brilliant. So Guggenheinen, I don't know, man, like some people are just touched, you know what I mean? And this cat is touched. He's an enfant terrible. I heard he's not the greatest guy to do business. I mean, I've heard lots of things about Guggenheinen, but what is indisputable, besides the man himself, is the beauty of his wines. And the other cool thing is he never really got the itch to go too far outside of the Mâconnais. He started in the Mâconnais, his domain vineyards are in the Mâconnais, and his negociant project is focused pretty much on the Mâconnais now. He dabbled about, he made Corton Charlemagne, he made other negociant wines back in the 90s, but we don't see as much of those anymore. This is special stuff. In case you didn't know, Jean-Marie was the first winemaker in the Mâconnais, in the southern part of Burgundy, to produce a 100-point wine from the Mâcon. Never been done before. And his Mâcon Pierre Clos from his domain, Guggenheinen, got 100 points. Doesn't get higher than that. And what happened is he immediately vaulted into superstardom. He was already known. The wines were already expensive, even in the 90s. The 96 Mâcon Pierre Clos was a wine that at the time we sold for the insane price of like $40 for a Mâcon wine. And everyone was looking at us like, you got an effing hole in your head. Are you an idiot? Who bought this? And we did end up drinking all of it ourselves. It was good. I would have liked to have sold it, but I didn't lose my job. So, but what happened is he was already known, already great, and now that wine sells for what, $250, $300, $400 a bottle? I don't even know anymore. We haven't seen those wines in years. But what we do see is probably his best, could be his best wine from his negociant line, his micro-negociant wine. So this is the 2023 Pouilly-Fuissé Le Combe Vieilles Vignes. This is a single vineyard, Pouilly-Fuissé Le Combe. It's not Premier Cru. You know, there's Premier Crus in Pouilly-Fuissé now. This isn't Premier Cru, but it's considered one of the best sites. It probably isn't Premier Cru. And here we're talking 70-plus-year-old vines. And the funny thing with him is he makes some of the greatest white wines on planet Earth. But he's not, he doesn't sit there and go, it will go in this oak and we will do it this way and da-da-da-da-da-da. He's not regimented. He's not rigid in his thinking with regards to a recipe for making great white wine. He's got cement tanks, he's got stainless steel, he's got big barrels, he's got whatever in his winery to simply manifest the best wine that he can. What was this aged in? Hell if I know. Have no idea. But that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, what did he do with those grapes? What did he create? How he created it? I guess that's his own damn business, huh? But what we have here, what he's always had, is this marriage of richness of fruit and electricity, verve, vivacity, whatever you want to call it. The marriage here, it's interwoven into the wine, this electric, this tingling, this spine-tingling character in the wines, while the wines are still rich and still full of fruit, floral, minerally, spicy. On the palate, waves of fruit, powerful, rich, yummy. That tingle kind of takes a backseat, lets all this fruit and richness and yumminess come through the center palate, and then on the finish, kind of goes, aha, thought I was gone, and returns. So you get this complete drinking experience. This is fabulous Pouilly-Fuissé. You know, the wines from Pouilly-Fuissé are a bit richer anyway than we see from some of the wines even in the Côte de Beaune, because it's a little warmer down there, the type of soils, you have these wonderful hillside exposures, you have an opportunity to really ripen Chardonnay. And in fact, he takes that perfectly ripe Chardonnay and does very little with it and makes truly remarkable wine. He hadn't had distribution, at least in California, for a really long time. Maybe because, like I was alluded to earlier, it could be some tensions occasionally with, you know, but he does now, and we're really stoked, and we're tickled pink to have this wine in stock. If you do need scores, 94 plus from Wine Advocate, from Bill Kelly. He gives that same score to wines from Dauvissat, from Ravenot, hell, probably a few Coche de Riz wines, you know, get 93, 94 points and like $1,000 a bottle. He's pretty stingy with his numbers. So when you see a 94 on a bottle of Burgundy from him, that is a screaming testimony to the insane quality of the wine. And all that for, under 50 bones. So cool to have the irascible, irrepressible Jean-Marie Gouffenstein back at Wine Exchange. It's been a long time coming.